Today, Liss and I are going to explore the topic of ascension. This is probably a word you have heard probably, I don't know, a million times. It is thrown around a lot. It's probably, in my opinion, grossly misunderstood. A lot of people talk about ascending to 5D and ascension symptoms and all of this ascension information. I think it floats around the internet a whole lot, but I wonder if people really understand what this even means. What does ascension even really mean? So
Hi, and welcome to Light for Life. If you are returning to our channel, thank you. We value and appreciate you. Our aim is to shine a bright light on your inner splendor and assist to connect you to your magnificence via what we intend to be enlightened sharing, potentially educational, and hopefully entertaining information, as well as encouragement for new perspectives. If you are new here, you are most welcome. We do hope that you will find our content highly beneficial and enjoyable. I am Liz. I'm a science of mind practitioner and a teacher of various healing modalities applicable to all aspects of the self and this life.
and I am Lori. I am a holistic wellness researcher and educator. Welcome to Connections with Liss and Lori. We use the space to offer our perspective regarding multiple different topics that we certainly hope you find inspiring. So we hope to break this down for you a little bit better today if you are new to this word and new to the concept. I feel ascension is basically understanding the process of raising our awareness or raising our consciousness to something beyond the human experience and beyond what we understand in our day-to-day life, and really finding higher spiritual truths, and in the process simultaneously releasing limiting beliefs, false beliefs, patterns that we've established that might not be working so great for us. So really, it's a journey. It's not something that we just go to like a 3-day retreat and all of a sudden we're ascended beings. It's a journey that we go through within ourselves, unto ourselves, as an awareness journey. We become more self-aware of not just who we are, but how we affect the collective, because we certainly do affect the collective consciousness as well. And it's a process of embodying our divine self and our divine collective in a way. So, like I said, it's not really something that we can just like go on a weekend retreat and come back ascended. I mean, I'm sure some people can. It's probably done many times, but for most people, the rest of us, it's an ever evolving process. And truth be told, I don't ever want to stop learning. I feel like the more I learn, there is to learn about life and myself, and how my perceptions and my beliefs and my patterns affect everybody. It's a leveling up of self-responsibility and responsibility to everyone as an extension of my divine self. I hope I'm not stumbling and bumbling through this. Am I explaining myself very well here today?
Always, honey, always.
So it's in the process of self-discovery, it's also discovering the co-creation of our world, our personal lives, but also the harmony that we experience, probably without even really knowing it, with everybody else that we're in this experience with.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if you're hearing it, hun, but it's very noisy around my corner of the world. So
Nope.
hopefully it's not translating. For me, I can't consider the topic of ascension without correlating it to energy.
Mhm. Right.
It's just impossible. To my perception anyway. And so my brain thinks of energy in much the same way that I think of electricity. It's the easiest analogy for my mind to hold this concept of energy. And when it comes to ascension, I think specifically of an electric circuit and how a pulse or a signal travels through, what's the word for something that can send energy?
Conductor.
Conduit. There we go. That signal travels through a conduit, sometimes meets a little transformer or a transistor that changes it slightly, and then travels back. It's a circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I see the energy of life.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we think that this whole experience of physical reality had a starting point, I see that as the start, the on switch of an energy circuit. So at first, energy was on a descending arc. It was coming down to physicality. And we know if we look at our history, there wasn't much enlightenment through most of humanity's time on this planet. A lot of our history is very dark, very savage and animalistic, very power grabbing and controlling in an egotistical way. Think of the Dark Ages, for example. And when I think of ascension, what I'm thinking about is the upward arc back. It's the journey of energy in its circuit to where it's going back to the position that it started from. But because it's not just a circle that goes round and round and round and round and round and round ad infinitum in the same place, because space and time only exist within a 3D reality. As soon as we go into other dimensions, more energetic and lighter dimensions, we don't really have space-time anymore. So it's not about the distance. It's about the fact that that energy is returning to the same point that it came from, but not in the same frequency. It started out at that point on this level, and when it returns, it's on this one. In other words, it's ascended. The circuit is still spiraling, but when it gets back to the starting point, it gets back there higher and higher and higher. And that's why we say it's a spiral. The descending spiral comes down into physicality, and the ascending spiral goes back up, climbing the frequency scale. And it's not just us that's doing that. Our entire physical universe is doing that. We're just along for the ride. So we're so used to seeing those silly little models that they taught us in, I don't know, grade 2 or 3 of, here's the sun and here's all the planets in their orbits around us, and it all happens in very neat little spinning circles. But if you actually see a 3D video example of what's going on in space, it blows your mind, because it's not nearly as neat and organized as that little 3D model was. It's wild what's happening in all these spinning cycles. And the fact is, in the midst of that spin, our Earth's position in space is on an ascending arc. We're moving because our sun is moving. And our sun is moving because the entire galaxy is moving. We're all on an upward trajectory. And the reason why is consciousness. Literally because we have become more aware, because we're learning, because we're understanding, we are connecting to higher streams of consciousness. And our entire physical universe is going to those streams of consciousness with us. So our planet is ascending. We measure this in the Schumann resonance, which is Earth's heartbeat, if you like. Those frequency scales are doing nothing but going up and going up and going up. And it's not that we are affected by that. We are the ones who are increasing the Schumann resonance. We are increasing the heartbeat of the planet. And then the planet in turn is taking us up with her. It's all about frequency. It's all about these rungs that we are climbing. And what's so magical is that we know this and we can understand this. It's wonderful.
Well, we, meaning you, I never heard that before about the Schumann resonance, and it makes so much more sense to me now. Thank you for sharing that piece, because I see so many people on social media posting about this and about how it impacts us. But my question was, why is this resonance changing so much lately? Particularly the last year, it has been changing so much. And now that you've said that, it makes so much more sense why it has been changing so much, because we are shifting so much in our understanding as individuals and as a collective, that of course that energy is going to be palpable and measurable. I mean, we can
It's
measure
literally
the
enlightenment.
Absolutely. We can measure the electrical activity of our brain. We can measure the electrical activity of our heart. We can measure the electrical activity of our being. So, of course, our electrical activity is going to have an influence on the people around us, on our community at large. And now that you're saying this, of course, it affects our planet as a whole. How utterly fascinating is that?
And, everything is such an energy cycle. It's
Yeah.
such a circuit. It works together so beautifully. Because if you understand that because of our enlightenment, the Schumann resonance of the planet is increasing, why are we now more enlightened? It's not just because the energy is on the ascending arc. It is because our sun is sending more photonic light our way, because the Earth's position has changed. Our distance to the sun, relatively speaking, is still exactly the same. But we're in a higher frequency zone in terms of the photonic light that we're receiving. And so our sun is also ascending. So solar activity is increasing and the flares are increasing. And scientists will say it's the life cycle of the sun. Yes, it is. And it's the life cycle of the planet. Yes, it is. But that's why we're in ascension and enlightenment now. Just like we achieve a certain degree of maturity, insight, and understanding at a certain age, so does the planet, so does our star, so does the whole universe. Everything is consciousness, everything is sentient intelligence. It's incredible. And it's all going up.
It is incredible. It is incredible. So how do we go along for the ride? How do we so I keep going back to ascension symptoms, and I'm not minimizing that. I know that people can feel that energetic change on a physical level, and it can be a little disruptive. People can get headaches. People can feel even a little flu-like. We can have some physical symptoms with that energetic change, but how can we support our own ease of moving through these energetic changes in a little more harmony? And I think, same as always, I'm going to be a broken record. It really does start with observation. It really does start with a willingness. Observe our thoughts, observe our patterns, observe how we feel. Make sure that we are still supporting ourselves in the way that we need to. Water, 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 first of all. But also observing and understanding the thoughts and knowing that we are co-creating our reality. And I know we say this probably in every recording, but it's so important to understand that this doesn't have to be a fearful process. This doesn't have to be a process of separation. It's actually unity. It's actually the possibility of more freedom. It doesn't have to be, oh my goodness, I'm struggling with these ascension symptoms. The Schumann resonance is just so much. It's just too much. Oh. It can actually be a beautiful ride if we have the right tools on board to help us move through this with grace and ease. So, what are some of your favorite tools, or if somebody's listening to this thinking, I'm having a bumpy ride, how do I make this easier? What would you say?
Well, Laurie, you know me, science of mind, first, middle, and last. So what are you believing about it?
Right. Right.
If you believe, first of all, that there's such a thing as an ascension symptom, not necessary to believe that there is. But if you're going to believe that there's something like an ascension symptom, why does it have to be something negative?
Mhm.
Why does an ascension symptom have to be a headache or the fact that I can't sleep? Why can't an ascension symptom be that I feel so much lighter? I manifest so much faster. Everything is so much easier. The molasses I used to wade through in my life has suddenly become the wind beneath my wings. Why can't these things be ascension symptoms? So that would be trick number one. Let's have some positive beliefs about ascension symptoms. Secondly, if for whatever reason your physical body has experienced some sort of temporary negative effect that you're going to call an ascension symptom. So, for example, when the Schumann resonance is very high, personally, I often have a largely sleepless night. I suffered from insomnia most of my life. Thank heavens that has changed. New beliefs. But still, like on a full moon, when the energy is very high, I'm very connected to it. I'm very connected to the Schumann resonance. I don't need to see graphs. I don't need to see a post. I know in my body when those energies are high. So very often I will have a night where maybe I get 2 hours of very light sleep. Okay, so I can be up in the morning and I can tell myself, oh, the Schumann resonance and these terrible ascension symptoms, I didn't get any sleep. So now what does that mean? What does that belief mean? I have no strength. I have no energy. I'm going to battle to get through my day. I'm going to feel terrible. This is awful. How long is it going to last? Whole negative spiral. Or I could wake up in the morning and go, Schumann resonance was really high last night. I only got 2 hours of very light rest. And I'm choosing to believe that because this is what we're all going through, that is sufficient to carry me through my day.
Mhm.
I obviously have an excess of photonic energy. Let me go and ground that. Let me drink some more water. Let me really come into my heart space and ground myself better there. The magnetism will help pull it down. Those are all equally valid responses. We're just usually in the habit of choosing
Mhm.
the negative response. And
Yes.
that's the thing. Just like I gave you this beautiful cosmology story at the start of what I had to say, that would be the macrocosm of what's going on with ascension. But everything is mirrored. So
Mhm.
what's going on in the macrocosm is going on in the microcosm inside of me too. And that's the part of ascension that I think most people miss. It's molecular. It's happening in the atom. It's happening on a subatomic level. It's happening in our cells. It's happening in our DNA. That's what the shift from 3D to 5D actually is. It's molecular. We are becoming physically lighter. That's what
Yeah.
our light body is. Less carbon, more photons. So everything gets lighter. Everything gets easier. Everything gets faster. Have you noticed? There's a much more rapid rate of return Karma's almost instant. I don't know if
Yes,
you've been seeing this, Laurie, but I see it everywhere. It's amazing.
it is.
Things are just so much easier. So why don't we adopt that belief? If you've always believed that things are so hard and they take so long, you really, really, really don't need to believe that. Let's believe things are so much lighter. Things are so much easier. Things just keep on getting better and better.
Yeah. Just this week alone, I've had several conversations with people who are feeling um, simultaneously and big burdens of stress and absolute utter miracles. So you talked about the karma being instant. Obviously it's not so much karma in those situations, but years ago things used to be like this thing would happen and we would deal with it, and there was some stress and we'd work through the stress, and then that stress would start to leave our body. This is like instant, simultaneous, synergistic experiences of oh my gosh and oh my gosh. Woo! It's been
Yeah.
very interesting to watch in the last week or so how many people have said the exact same thing, and I'm like, I know, isn't it fascinating? And they're like, yeah. So there is a little bit of reframing. There is a little bit of, okay, here's the false belief, but look at what's possible. Look at the love, the peace, and the joy, and the things that you can be grateful for, even though this is simultaneously happening. Isn't that beautiful? How quickly we can move through this, and the the utter transformation that is happening in moments now, and how that ripple effect affects all of us and all of our transformations. I am utterly fascinated, but it's also an acknowledgement of sometimes we do have to acknowledge that some of those old patterns are still on board. And what a great opportunity to see. But look, you don't even need them anymore because look what's happening on this hand. Yep, this is happening,
Yeah.
but look what's happening here.
Yeah. And I'm seeing it with the connections that I work with one-on-one. In times past, things would gradually come up for release. And
Mhm.
then we would work on them, we would process them. And there would have to be a bit of a journey of
Yes,
release. And then
yes,
it was all right. So now that we have released, what's our next step? What are we going to adopt now? Whereas now what I'm seeing is release and new are just
yes,
right there together. So
yes,
this comes up for release. It might still be a process of letting it go, but at the same time as it comes up for release, here comes, okay, replacing it with hand in hand. It's so beautiful. And karma isn't some spiritual ideology. It literally just means action. It
yeah.
literally just means what you do and the consequence of having done that. That's literally all it means. We don't need to make it any more complicated than that. And, like in my granny's generation, they would talk about the wheel turned slowly.
Mhm. Not anymore.
Particularly, it was thought in terms of negative karma that people deserved.
Yeah.
That the wheel turns slowly, but it does turn, was a statement that I grew up hearing so often. The wheel is not turning slowly anymore. The wheel is on fire. It's
Yeah.
spinning, like
Yeah.
it's rapid. And maybe
Yeah.
that's what it means that time is sped up. Maybe it's that perceived distance between its action and its reward, action and its consequence, is that it's just becoming like a snack. Very exciting.
Mhm. I agree. I think it's very exciting as well. Thank you for connecting with Light for Life. If you appreciate reminders, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can receive those notifications. If you would like to work with one of us, you can find our contact information in the About section of this channel.
Yes, thank you for connecting with Light for Life. Please share your insights, your questions, and your comments with us in the comment section below. We value your feedback. And we really hope that we will see you for our next episode. We upload one every Thursday. Until then, bye-bye and be joyful.
Until we connect again, we send you love and light.